The date is February 2nd, 1959. The location, the northern Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union, specifically a desolate slope of Kholat Syakhl, a Mansi name, chillingly translated as Dead Mountain. 9 experienced ski hikers, students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov, had set out on a challenging expedition. Their goal, to reach the peak of Otorten, roughly 10 kilometers away. They were a seasoned group, well-equipped and accustomed to the harsh conditions of the Russian winter. Yet, what awaited them on Dead Mountain would become one of history's more forgotten stories, overshadowed by the intense climate of the Cold War. What happened next defies easy explanation. Sometime in the late hours of February 1st or early morning of February 2nd, something utterly terrifying compelled these 9 hikers to flee their tent. Not just flee, but cut their way out from the inside. Many were half-dressed, some barefoot, exposed to temperatures plummeting to an unforgiving minus 30 degrees Celsius. They ran, stumbled, or perhaps were driven down the icy slope, leaving behind their coats, their food, and their very means of survival. Their bodies were found weeks later, scattered across the frozen landscape. The initial findings were grim. Hypothermia was the primary cause of death for most, but then the disturbing details began to emerge. 2 victims had fractured skulls, another had crushed ribs. Perhaps most horrifyingly, one woman, Lyudmila Dubinina, was found missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her jaw. And if that wasn't enough to send shivers down your spine, traces of radiation were later detected on some of their clothing. The Soviet authorities quickly closed the case, attributing the deaths to a compelling natural force. But for decades, this explanation satisfied no one. The bizarre circumstances, the contradictory evidence, and the sheer horror of their final moments fueled speculation and gave rise to countless theories. Today, however, 2 main theories dominate the discussion, each attempting to bring some semblance of order to this chilling chaos. For many years, the idea of a simple, tragic avalanche was dismissed. The slope wasn't steep enough, and there were no obvious signs of a recent avalanche. However, recent scientific investigations using advanced modeling and forensic analysis have revisited this theory with compelling new evidence. This theory posits that a rare type of avalanche, known as a slab avalanche, could have been the culprit. Unlike a typical powdery snowslide, a slab avalanche occurs when a dense layer of snow detaches and slides down, often triggered by subtle shifts, or even the accumulation of wind-blown snow on a relatively gentle slope. The scenario unfolds like this. The hikers had dug their tent into the side of the slope, creating a snow wall that inadvertently weakened the snowpack above them. As they slept, wind-blown snow accumulated, adding weight. At some point, the slab fractured. The immediate impact, though not necessarily burying them completely, would have been sudden and terrifying. It would have generated a powerful surge of snow and air, capable of causing blunt force trauma. The crushed ribs and fractured skulls seen in some victims. The sudden collapse of the snow, even if partial, would have panicked them, leading them to frantically cut their way out of the tent. Disoriented, possibly injured, and in the dark, they would have fled downhill, seeking safety from a perceived further collapse. The hypothermia, in this scenario, would have been the ultimate killer, compounded by their injuries and inadequate clothing, the missing eyes and tongue, animal scavenging after death, the radiation, perhaps contamination from military testing in a nearby area, or even naturally occurring radon. While still a tragic event, this theory offers a rational, albeit terrifying, explanation for many of the physical injuries and the desperate flight. Despite the renewed scientific interest in the avalanche theory, a significant portion of the public, and indeed some investigators, remain unconvinced. They point to the more bizarre details, the missing organs, and the radiation, suggesting something far more sinister or even otherworldly. This brings us to the military experiment or paranormal theories. One prevalent idea is that the hikers stumbled upon a secret Soviet military test, Perhaps a new weapon, a strange gas, or even a low-yield nuclear device was detonated nearby. The bright flashes, reported by other groups in the area around the time of the incident, the strange orange glow sometimes associated with military tests, and the radiation on the clothes all seem to lend credence to this. The injuries, particularly the internal ones, without external wounds, could be consistent with blast trauma or exposure to unusual forces. In this scenario, the military, to cover up their activities, either eliminated the witnesses or, through some unknown force, caused them to flee in terror, only to succumb to the elements. The missing tongues and eyes could be attributed to a deliberate attempt to remove evidence, or perhaps a consequence of whatever experimental force was unleashed. Closely intertwined with the military theory are the more paranormal explanations. Some believe the hikers encountered a UFO, an unknown creature, or even fell victim to some kind of infrasound phenomenon. Low-frequency sounds that can cause disorientation, fear, and even physical discomfort in humans. The fear that drove them from their tent, in this view, was not from a natural force, but from something truly inexplicable. The strange orange skin discoloration reported on some bodies, alongside the radiation, further fuels these more exotic theories. Both theories have their merits and their flaws. The Avalanche Theory offers a scientific framework, relying on a plausible, though rare, natural event. It provides a more grounded explanation for the injuries and the flight from the tent. However, it still struggles to fully account for every single bizarre detail, particularly the extent of the internal injuries and the specific nature of the missing organs. The military paranormal theories, while providing a compelling narrative for the more inexplicable elements, often lack concrete evidence and rely more on speculation and conjecture. They tap into our deepest fears of the unknown and the sinister machinations of hidden powers. The Dyatlov Pass Incident remains an open wound in the collective memory of Russia and a source of endless fascination worldwide. Was it a freak act of nature, a horrifying confluence of circumstances that led to an unparalleled tragedy? Or was it something far darker, a secret concealed, a truth buried beneath the layers of snow and time? We may never truly know the complete story of what happened on Dead Mountain that frigid night in February 1959. But one thing is certain: the 9 lost souls of the Dyatlov Pass continue to call to us from the vast, frozen wilderness. Their silence a chilling testament to one of history's most enduring and unsettling mysteries. What are your thoughts on the Dyatlov Pass incident? Have you heard these theories before, or do you subscribe to a different explanation? Let me know what you think happened in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's most chilling mysteries, please consider subscribing. I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers by the end of 2025, and your support would mean the world.